And we are live. So, what's going on, Wahab?
I'm glad you asked. Now, I don't want to brag or anything, but I just bought this t-shirt that is very hard to get your hands on.
Oh, that's
And
exciting.
yeah, it's almost over $500. And the thing
Ah,
is, they only make 20 of those, and I bought five of them. So now, as you can see,
sounds
this,
prestigious. Extremely so. Huh.
yeah,
Yeah, wow.
and I just feel really good buying it because I just like to buy stuff and just
Oh,
buy so
yeah.
much of it even though I don't
I
need to.
I
But
can concur. Yeah, so I bought lots of stuff. So there's the entire box of stuff. I feel so amazing about that. But I feel like I need to buy some more. And guess what? Today is Friday and I ran out of money. So I got some free wristbands. Wait. What's going on here? Sounds like a familiar topic for many of us. So, what umbrella does this fall under?
well, it falls under the umbrella of stuff and just wanting a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So much stuff that we
aka
just want
materialism,
stuff.
perhaps the unhealthful version of that. So, yeah, what's up with the materialism? So, in general, looks like people do need to get some things, right, to support their lives, for example, support their lifestyles. But in a sense, this materialism is a very shaky waters, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, besides the over exaggerated intro we did, in some
Just have to be
cases,
there.
yeah. And in some cases, like we just simply spoke out the thought process out loud when it comes to materialism. Because, in a sense, we as humans do need materials, items, stuff to survive. But then, in a way, that line we have drawn between what is essential and what is just a want that would probably look cool,
Yeah,
in a way, has gotten blurred out. And
exactly.
you can argue and say that it's because of marketing, it's because of human psychology. But that's another whole realm of description that would be too much to fit into this episode.
Oh, yeah.
So, in a way, that I like to think of it as a kitchen example, or like kind of like, okay, now you do have the basic things to cook with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we can go really far behind, or not far behind, but way back in the day when materialism was kind of imprinted into the human's DNA. That's what I would think with my uh, brain, right? So yeah, people had to get some maybe lion cloth, for example, some sort of spare and a shelter and the I don't know, food and some kind of tools to pick up the berries and hunt, for instance. So and then that's why we naturally have this tendency to get things in one way or another. Maybe we will buy a boatload or a box load of stuff. Actually, this is not bought. This is just my possessions, which I accumulated and then moved with them. So these are very practical things. So as well as the wristbands, they were just free, lying around somewhere in the kitchen. So and then I use them as a decor for my damaged wrist. So yeah, and as the time progresses and we evolve, so this materialism thing can become actually toxic, right?
Yeah. I mean, we are humans. We do rely on tools to survive, especially in this modern day and age, um, like a smartphone.
Yeah,
We all
that's
have
right.
one of those.
Might as well be
And
practical because you can make calls, for example, using a smartphone. You can send SMSs. That's another way, or text messages. And there is a camera, which you can use for, I don't know, vlogging purposes, for instance, or scan documents and I don't know, Zoom calls, for instance. So yeah, there is this kind of like still practicality in buying things.
Yeah, everything that I need to stay in touch with friends, family, even tools needed like photo
Yeah.
scanning or emailing and sending documents can
T-shirt,
all
it's a
be,
clothing tool.
yeah, it can all be done on that phone. So in a way, like, I think my phone is maybe 2 or 4 years old. I lost count,
Yeah.
but it's not damaged enough to the point where I need to buy a new one. Yet, however, we do see this sometimes many times today, where let's
Yeah.
say like a new model comes out and you'll find people lined up outside the shop camping, just waiting for it, even though there's nothing wrong with their old
Exactly.
phone. It's just the need or like an itch to scratch to just have to buy it
Yeah.
just because it's new.
That is true. So that's where we move already from the realm of practicality of materialism to the toxicity of materialism, right? So there is this border between the good side of the materialism and the bad one. So two things. So that's why I was saying it is kind of like a threat in a sense to us, because yeah, to some extent it is needed, but if it is too much of that materialism, then it becomes not quite good for one's soul. Yeah, and then yeah, people can use it as yeah, perhaps validation, right? So for example, I can buy some sort of fancy pair of shoes, and then in the hopes that people will think better about me, right? But that doesn't seem like a good approach to live your life, I would say. Well, a pair of shoes makes you a better person all of a sudden, even if you, let's say, wake up at 12 p.m. on a daily basis and party all the time. So let's just draw some examples of like common misbehaviors, and yeah, you know, a lot of those, right? And then yeah, or a fancy t-shirt will not make you a better person and will not correct your, let's say, bad actions. So that's hard to imagine. Or sometimes, yeah, I once had this interesting story. I remember I was texting one person, and this person was impressed by the blue color of my texts, and that person was in awe to realize that I had an iPhone, for example, a particular brand of the phone at that point. So, and then that seemed like a ridiculous concept to me, that I was judged by what kind of phone I had. And then, yeah, that's not something that I would like to impress a person with.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you mentioned the validation part, but just something
Yeah.
funny that you reminded me of when mentioning that iPhone thing. I think I remember seeing an article, and it was like one of the biggest letdowns was when I'm making this title up because I forgot how it went, but it was like one of the biggest letdowns. I think it was either like men or women found is when they have an iPhone and the person they're like messaging or texting doesn't have an iPhone.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah, it was
another
like a
scenario.
huge complaint, which is, I don't know,
Oh,
to me it
okay.
seems kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that can become, I'm sure there were some cases when it could be a deal breaker, for example, when people are trying to build, let's say, some sort of connection, and then, oh, wow, so you have a different phones, then you fall out of some sort of circle, for instance, circle of acceptance, let's say. Yeah, so that becomes really strange, right? If we think about that. And yeah, so we are now in those kind of like dangerous waters of materialism that also become addictive, right? So yeah, because it's common that if you, let's say, buy things too much and too often, then you can become this so-called shopaholic. I'm not sure exactly what kind of the roots are. I think there are some kind of psychological reasons for that, but that is actually not a good way, again, to live your life and to follow. And it is also addictive. So that's something that we need to be aware of. And we can all easily fall into this rut if we have, let's say, enough money, for example, to dispose of.
Yeah, and what's even scary is that you don't even need enough money. You can just get a credit card and put yourself in debt
Oh,
to
that's another
acquire
one.
it.
Yeah.
Like, just backpedaling a little bit onto the validation part, like to answer the aspect on addiction, is that when, let's say, buying a new pair of t-shirt, pants, watch, phone, whatever, is that in a way we tell ourselves that, not exactly tell ourselves, but subconsciously think that it's a two-way validation.
Yeah.
Like we first feel validated when buying it and using it, but then that feeling quickly goes away after the first week. And then we get another like external validation from compliments. Like, let's say, you buy a new article of clothing, you buy a new watch, phone, whatever. Now it's, you get these compliments like, oh, is that the new phone or watch? Oh, wow, it's so
Yeah,
cool.
that's a
Oh,
great point.
you just got that? That's really cool, man. Oh, you
Exactly.
got that overpriced designer brand, and the only way I can tell is because it's ripped up and looks like a homeless man's clothes. Oh, wow, you spent $3,000 on that. Oh, wow, you're so
Oh
cool,
boy.
man.
Yeah, that's happened. So
Yeah,
that's a very interesting phenomenon. Looks like on the one hand, it is ingrained into our DNA from the time when we used to be, let's say, hunter-gatherers. We were gathering berries and stones and, for example, firewood. But now we hunt and gather telephones, for example,
and
right? Or some sort of, expensive clothing, cars, and so on. And that's another point, that actually, if people start complimenting us on that, or if buying of something is promoted as kind of something that elevates your status, then it might as well induce addiction in you, because you will be addicted due to feeling good because of those compliments, right? Somebody gives you one compliment for a t-shirt, and then you say, okay, what if I buy now some kind of fancy pants, right? You're given another compliment. Now it's gonna be maybe a vehicle of sorts, or a phone, and I don't know, sunglasses, and you spend more and more money, then you can get into debt, and you can be distracted from, let's say, some sort of more fulfilling things in your life. So now you kind of get into the dangerous waters of materialism.
Yeah, and even in, let's say, the era of hunters and gatherers, like I forgot which movie that was. I think it might have been Caveman. It was a really old movie. Even in the movie, you would have like these cavemen who just understand Unga Bunga.
Yes.
But what happens is, like, they'd set up these tents, these huts, but it was always like the person with the bigger hut who would be like the top dog of the village.
Okay.
So in a way, like, materialism has now been a way to sort of broadcast or advertise what we want to show as our worth to this extremely large village or tribe of a planet we live in right now.
Yeah. It's kind of the same principle, but it just morphed into a different representation these days. From the bigger, let's say, hut to a bigger house.
Yeah, or a newer, shinier, fancier car. Or like, clothing that totals to maybe like $10,000, like
Exactly.
t-shirt, hat, chains, watches, bracelets, jewelry, earrings, anything, rings, pants, belts, whatever. Like, in a way, just being able to like wear it, because I think nowadays when people look at like an expensive designer brand, we look at it and we be like, yeah, we know this guy probably dumped his entire wallet just to buy it. You know, oh, he must be really rich.
Exactly.
Or, she must be very well connected to get like one out of these only 30 purses made in the entire world.
One can make conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah, like we start to put these pre-made assumptions in our head that this is now like a person of worth, or this is now like a person of status, to be able to broadcast that material in a way.
That is true. Yeah. So in a sense, it could also be maybe a way to mask your deficiencies, right? So let's say you can do something good for, let's say, society, for the world, if we use those cliches, but in a sense, it is kind of usable. Anyway, so, and then instead you could be like, okay, what if I buy some sort of very nice car and spend all my money on this? And yeah, that's a way for me to represent myself better in society. So yeah, that's again a dangerous practice. However, so since we know enough about dangers and threats, I would say, since we know kind of like what materialism is, and then this is something that is innate to us, so there are ways to control it, right? So this is something that we can handle, since it is not anything new. It goes from our ancestry. So what are the good or best, let's say, practices that we can share with our listeners to control materialism and make it actually work for you, and not the other way around, when you become a slave of materialism?
Mm-hmm. Yes, amazing question. And I think the first part in general with any problem is admitting the problem. Like,
yeah,
I think
true.
that the majority of people who do seek material value probably won't listen to this podcast and be like, wow, you guys are right. You know, I shouldn't spend $5,000 on this new t-shirt.
To admit the
Yeah,
truth
like,
is not the
yeah, it's
most
a
pleasant
pretty
thing.
Even when it's, you know, something right in front of our faces, and admitting it leads to pretty much degradation of your own character. Like, in a way, we as humans, that's the last thing we want to do to ourselves. So seeking this illusion, or like this false mirror where, oh no, buying these material items will be the key to what's that, clout, like, you know, just showing I'm worth, showing my status, being able to rise above the social ladder. Now I think the way to like put it on a right path is to understand that no one who, I guess, looks at you like that really cares. And that's the people who are not like materially attached. Like, I do know people that when they see like either a famous person or just an average guy, but who's over indulged in, like, you know, designer brands, fancy car that probably isn't his, like just over accumulation of stuff. No one look and be like, wow, look at that guy. That guy is so cool. Like, even the people who aren't materially attached would just probably look and be like, that's a waste of money. I don't care. Like, that's not me. So the best practice would be, I guess, do an inventory. Like, look at your closet, look at your, I don't know, shoe rack. Just look at it, count. Like, I guarantee you, almost 90% of the time, there's stuff there that you probably haven't touched for years.
Oh yeah, exactly. That does happen a lot. Yeah, so yeah, that's one good approach, to just do the self audit. So when you already have bought something, and yeah, you just need to ask yourself, so do I really use those things? Were they useful for me, right? And then if I want to rewind a little bit, so maybe it's time to sell those things or probably donate them, right?
Yeah.
So that there's going to be some kind of like usage could be actually derived for them, or maybe start wearing those shoes which have not been worn for, let's say, a couple of years or something like that. So, and then if we want to rewind even more, or unwind, rewind, I would say. Yeah, so then I could catch myself at the thought, if I want to, let's say, buy something, then I would just think twice about that. That's pretty easy. So one thought is, oh my, so I need to buy this, let's say, jacket or something like that. But the other thought will be, so, well, what about the money? Can I afford it? I'll just ask this question before I start having any regrets, right? And then about money poorly spent, and then I'll ask myself if it's going to be a useful purchase for me. So those things, there are kind of like approaches, and then yeah, I can easily prevent myself from buying something not necessary.
Yeah, like that self-audit, I feel like we should do another episode on that again, because
Oh
we're
yeah,
just
that's
mentioning
right. So
so
that'll
much.
be in the books. So yeah, and then that's kind of going to be a way to prevent overaccumulation, because you might end up with a lot of unnecessary stuff, which will be just cluttering your life. And then let's say if you live in a cluttered room, right, then your mind will be cluttered, because you will be all the time thinking about all those things around you and what to do with them. So that's gonna be, again, a toxic ramification of excessive materialism. So that's what
Yeah,
happens
so
if you go too much and then buy a lot of excessive unuseful stuff.
so I think, like, just to touch up on that again, is that even understanding that, like, that initial behavior of, like, clicking order online or buying something
Yeah,
like physically, that feeling you get, we do have to understand that it is not a proper source of validation, because that will go away. Like,
yeah,
it's not a true or joyous experience. Maybe depends on a purchase. I'll say maybe if you saved up enough to buy a house, like, that might hit differently, sure, different topic. But then what we do want to focus on is, buy for optimization in a way. I'm not sure if you mentioned that or not.
yeah. So yeah, we're just thinking about prevention of buying excessive amounts of stuff. Then we talked about what to deal, how to go about the excessive amount of stuff if you already have it. So yeah, if you want to prevent it, just think twice and analyze, ask yourself whether you really, really need this. Some people also suggest the 24-hour rule, where you can kind of like prevent or delay something, buying something for 24 hours. And then if you don't need it after 24 hours, then most likely you don't really need it at this time in your tracks, right? If you have too much, then I would just suggest start immediately getting rid of that, because that will take quite a bit of time, and then you will still be swimming in a bunch of stuff. It's not going to go away overnight, and then you will sell, let's say, like lots of unnecessary things in a day. So not going to happen. So I just tried it myself. So, and then in terms of just buying, yeah, so we can conclude that we do need to buy things, but there also several routes will be possible, right? So you can either become one of the routes that is kind of popular these days is minimalism, when you have something like not more than 300 things in your life.
I don't know, but I
Yeah.
definitely wouldn't survive in a
Yeah.
minimalistic environment. I know
So,
there are
and
people
then,
that
yeah,
can
so
pull it off.
I would not go with that either. So, which brings us to the point, which looks like you, for example, and I found useful. That's the optimization of what you buy. and what kind of like things, numbers of things that you use in your life. For example, if you are a minimalist, maybe, and you only have, let's say, 100 things, then, but also you like doing various sports, then you'll not be able to accommodate all those sports items into this list of 100 things that you must possess and then must not cross this number, right? So, but if you do different sports, then I think you are okay to buy things necessary, some sort of sporting gear, for instance, necessary to do those sports, but at the same time, it's going to be the optimal stuff, which you are guaranteed to use on a regular basis. That would be my approach. But if it is too much, even of this necessary stuff that is relevant, and you're not going to use it, then I would say that it's already crossing the border, and then that would lead to over accumulation of stuff in your life.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like I'm the perfect purchaser or the most optimized person buying stuff. Like I've definitely
Oh yeah,
bought
same here.
bought stuff that I didn't need. Like don't have it on me now, but I'm the huge, like I guess comic book geek, I guess. So I've
Okay.
definitely bought like a few, like maybe too many books in an average person's opinion, but to me
Yeah.
it's just perfect. But in a way, like, I didn't just buy it to just let it sit there and collect dust. Like I've used it time and time again.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
got my money's worth in a
Yeah.
way. And especially when buying, to avoid that possibility of putting yourself in debt just for the sake
Yeah.
of buying it. Something I like to do is I follow the double rule.
Oh, nice.
And
What's that?
it's like, so let's say like I want to buy something, might be a little pricey. But the thing is, can I buy it twice without
Ah,
it really affecting my balance or without it really affecting my budget? Now, if I can buy it twice, like pay double the price tag, it can be anything, like a huge Lego set, which are now ridiculously overpriced.
yeah. Can
Like
imagine.
if I can buy it twice without having to blow through my entire paycheck and without having to put my entire budget for the month on emergency funds, then like, sure, fine, go for it. Treat yourself. It is okay to treat yourself.
Yeah, that is true.
Mhm.
So, yeah, one of the ways to avoid excessive buying is just to slow down in your instincts, right? What's it? Impulsive purchasing. Just slow down your action there and think, analyze. So that is actually going to be a useful time to be slow, right? So because it will save you some money, save you some hassle of get rid of the things that can prove to be unnecessary, and then it can save you from getting into the, let's say, credit card debt, right? Which is a common thing people can get into, who become sort of victims of excessive consumption and shopping, things like that, right? So then if you have too much, get rid of that. But in general, so what I personally found for myself is that to be optimal, right? So for example, let's say I go to the gym, right? For example, for that purpose, I will use a pair of shorts, right? So, but I'll not be buying, for example, two pairs of shorts. It's not really needed. So I don't, let's say, sweat so much that I need to change shorts after every gym session, for example. Or I'll just I'll have maybe like 7 pairs of socks, right? So, and then they will be okay, 1 pair of socks for every day. And then in the morning, I just like wear those socks. They're nice and fresh. And then in the evening, when it's time to go to the gym, I'll just use the same socks to wear in my gym shoes, gym sneakers, for example. So, and then also, let's say I do another sport, right? For example, triathlon. Well, I'll just buy some gear for that, right? So which would require, for example, swimming goggles and a swim cap and a swim shorts. But again, I'll just buy one item of everything, not like I'm going to buy 6 swim caps and then 40 swim shorts and I don't know, 6 buoys for triathlon in the open water swim portion, things like that. So there I'll just be optimized, and then again I'll slow down and ask myself, okay, well, I do need, let's say, a buoy for triathlon to swim in the open water, but do I need 6 of them? So, or will I just get by with one? So, and then also I'll say, well, how often am I going to use it? Is it going to be just some sort of fad for like a week to try and then I'll forget about it, or will I be actually practicing that? So, and again, it boils down to being systematic in your approach to buying things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to sum up, you want the things you buy to be able to properly serve you. You don't want to
Yes.
fall servant in the act of seeking validation, or that like nice little, mind high you get when buying,
Yeah.
or that outside external gratification or validation from people. And in most cases, where if it's your outside circle, like, friends group, or uh, maybe sometimes like relatives, what
Yes.
happens is, like, if the source of, needing to buy or needing material that brags a certain status of wealth to acquire,
Yeah.
then at that case, like, it's definitely the circle that you're in, but encouraging this toxic behavior. Like, it might just be me. I definitely hope it's not me, but no one really, or I don't really care. Like, when I see a logo, or when I see like a certain brand or anything. No, like, even this T-shirt here I'm wearing right now, it's probably like a $15-11 T-shirt, but it's really comfy. I like it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
this is definitely like what I'm filling up my closet with.
Yeah. That is true. So again, just kind of like be balanced, I would say, right? So this is something that we need. We need to get those things to live, let's say, life properly. But if we put too much effort and time into buying those things, right, one by one, then we essentially, that's what we spend the big chunk of our time of the day on, right? So for example, you can maybe shop online for, let's say, okay, I'll set myself a 15-minute limit and then I will do some sort of buying of the essential clothing, for example, maybe some sort of gift for myself or my birthday, whatever it might be, gift for somebody else's birthday, and that's it, right? Or you can spend maybe 2 hours, right? And then all of a sudden it is, if you think about it, it's not 15 minutes out of 24 hours of your day, but it's 2 hours. So that's a substantial thing.
Mhm.
And you could have spent that 2 hours, maybe, yeah, okay, well, 15 minutes on shopping, but then another 45 minutes on working out, another hour on building your skills, for example. So, and then, yeah, you can think about that. So what will your life become? Will it become shopping and buying things, or will it be actually spent on developing skills, helping people, building your craft, whatever it might be? So because now it becomes already kind of a sort of, yeah, how you spend your life. So when you think about excessive materialism.
Don't go broke trying to impress people you don't know.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. It's been quite a while, so we do believe that we have shared some best practices about materialism that worked out for us. And I think that if you ask yourself deep down, you will know whether or not you are too much involved into materialism, as a matter of fact.
That's all I got.
Excellent. Same here. All right. Well, speaking of materials, this podcast was sponsored by no one and nobody, but we should thank the great materials from Rode Microphones that brought you very good sound like that one. So yeah, Mental Toughness again was a big sponsor of this podcast, as well as Rhode Island, University of Rhode Island Department of Chemistry, who provided that great t-shirt. Another necessary and practical material thing.
Brought to you by Life Hackers.
Indeed. Well, bye everyone. We shall see you later.
Peace out.